Today, I'm going to talk about staying productive in your homemaking during seasons of life when it might be a little more difficult to do so. So for me, in this particular season, my due date, if you could call it that, has come and passed. And I really hate referring to due dates as if my child was like a library book, but that's just normal nowadays. Everyone is asking you all the time, when is your due date? I've actually quit telling people that. I go by more of a due month or due season than a due date. If not for reporting reasons, I would actually not even have calculated a date for myself because I know babies come when baby is ready. But as you see, even though this date has passed, life goes on. Even though I'm in a season of in-between, there's still things to get done. I'm waiting on baby, but there's really no need just sitting around pondering when he or she is going to arrive. We're actually in full garden swing. Our cow is in milk. We are milking her every day, every morning. And though this is not an ideal time to be welcoming a newborn and a peaceful time of postpartum relaxing, we don't really plan our babies around certain seasons. God plans our children, and this is just what's going on in our life right now. So I'm going to take you all along for the day, kind of show you just some things I'm doing to keep busy, to just enjoy these last few days as a mama of 3 before we jump into having this 4th little baby. So first of all, I think what has helped me stay less stressed, anxious, and more productive is not having the stress of an outside career. When I think back to my first 2 pregnancies, I was working 2 full-time jobs in career and my motherhood career. I was overwhelmed and stressed because I had entirely too much on my plate. This is just a lot for moms. And I know it's not always doable for mothers to come home whenever they might desire, but it is just something to think about. If you're feeling the overwhelm of this transitional season of motherhood, different seasons of motherhood, and trying to stay on top of the tasks and duties you have within the home. So I think that's made a world of a difference in the anxiousness this time around and then my previous pregnancy. So the work of homemaking is actually a blessing. It's not a curse or something to dread each day. Something like, oh, I just need to get this laundry done and then I'll be done for the day. I just need to get that meal cooked and then I can relax. Yes, there are points in the day where I kind of set little goals, but all of that is never actually done. It might be done for that day, but it's never done because I have to do it all again the next day. And if you're a homemaker, you just know it isn't true that you're never actually done. The work never really ends, and that is a blessing. In scripture, it says that women who are called to motherhood, marriage, that this blessing is part of staying faithful to the Lord, and doing the work of a wife and a mother is a true ministry that we are called to for the women that are married and are mothers. I look back to my first few years of homemaking and I did not have this philosophy. I used to dread the homemaking tasks. I tried to plan out schedules for cleaning that week, cooking that week, to a T. Like Monday I was going to do all of these tasks, Tuesday all of these tasks, this is what we were going to eat on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. And then I think, okay, I've got this week planned, I can get through it and I'm going to be done. Forgetting that somehow I would just need to do this all again the next week after week after week. And I guess I just had the mindset that someday I'd just be done and I would feel free from this homemaking job. And I guess if my husband and I had followed the modern American family of only having 2 children and then being done, maybe my homemaking tasks would be done to an extent, or they would be lessened a lot when our children weren't in the home. But over the past 3 to 4 years, I've realized this is just not what has been called of us and not really what I desire. I think this is actually what our society wants us as homemakers to feel, and why the push to get outside of the home is so real, and why so many women can never actually imagine the mundane that comes from being at home every day doing the same tasks over and over. By the way, that mundane feeling that I used to get a few years ago has really turned into gratefulness and gratitude, something that I've really prayed about a lot and asked the Lord to give me a grateful heart for this life that I've dreamed of. Because I'll tell you, at first, when I first came home from that career, I felt a little empty. I felt a little bored, and I was like, how am I going to do this forever? What's the purpose here? And then just really praying a lot over God's guidance in that has really given me a heart of gratitude, and I've fully stepped into homemaking and the beauty that it can bring. We are full swing canning. I'm canning green beans to this video, as you see, with my children. And this just has to get done. It's not something I would have particularly chosen to do at 40 plus weeks pregnant, but life goes on. I remember my first pregnancy, I had all this time to sit around and think about the upcoming labor. I would research different things for the baby's arrival. And side note, I spent way too much time researching baby clothes and nursery decor and gadgets instead of what I should have been researching was like labor, birth, breastfeeding, hospital interventions, all of that. But now in these last weeks of my fourth pregnancy, life is just going on. There are other children to feed. I have gardens to help my husband tend to. We have crops to harvest and preserve. So my nesting and preparing for this baby just looks like doing the normal things of the season. And for us, it's going into the hot summer months with harvesting, outdoor projects, canning, preserving, and just some cleaning. But honestly, I haven't put a lot of extra effort into cleaning because the summer months, if you live on a homestead, a farm, you know that the priority goes outside during those months. So that's where my priorities have been and staying productive and waiting on this fourth sweet little baby. Another thing I wanted to add is being in the kitchen and preparing foods is quite relaxing for me. I've had some friends and family tell me that they see me in my kitchen working all the time and they feel just tired and wonder if I ever sit down to rest and relax. Yes, I do, but this is actually really fun and relaxing for me. I used to work full time and dreamed of being here every day in my home, cooking and preparing food for my family. I would count the days until our summer breaks or school holidays so I could just pretend to be that full-time stay-at-home mom for a little snippet of time. So this truly does not feel like work for me, being in the kitchen, preparing food, taking care of my family. It's just part of my calling as a homemaker and mother. And honestly, I don't actually enjoy sitting around too much. I have too busy of a mind that is like constantly going. So sitting down and relaxing pretty much happens in the evening with my husband. We're watching a show, reading a book, just hanging out. But yes, I do relax throughout the day, but I am in the kitchen enjoying this homemaking job a lot throughout the day. But before the 40-week mark that doctors and women live and die by today, actually now I think it's closer to like 39 weeks. At 39 weeks, doctors are pressuring mamas to induce nowadays. But before this magic number, women and their babies were just fine. There's this whole myth that women and babies were dying left and right in childbirth 100 years ago or so. That actually isn't true. This actually didn't start happening until the midwives, or the women who were the caretakers of birth, were pushed aside and the general practitioners, mostly men, were kind of taking over the childbirth process. Now, a lot of them were not specialized in childbirth at the very early stages of this, and they were just general practitioners going from their offices, the farms, to births, and just not taking a lot of health precautions. They meddled a lot. There was not the best hygiene. They were checking women and meddling in the birth process. And this is when the infection rates for those mamas and babies went through the roof. And that's why we saw that high mortality rate. It's not because women were having babies past 40 weeks. That's just what isn't the truth if you do a little research on that. So back when childbirth was in the hands of skilled midwives, the mortality rate was actually very low. Yes, there was an occasion where a mother was maybe lost or the baby because they didn't have access to C-sections, but that was not as common as we were led to believe. And I'm very grateful that we do have that technology now and the access to C-sections and higher interventions when they are needed. But I still believe these are widely overused today. So back in simpler times, women just waited and stayed busy as they were waiting on their baby. I'm not saying that they weren't anxious or ready to meet their babies like we all are today. I'm so anxious and excited to meet this sweet little one. But they just knew it was a time of patience and waiting, and they had a lot more work to do back then. They didn't sit around watching and waiting like I did in my first pregnancy. I just sat around on the couch thinking about the day that my baby would arrive, and that's probably one of the reasons that birth did not go as smoothly and easily as I had hoped it would have. So just find something to do, anything to do. Find something you need to get done around your house or just something you enjoy doing. Hopefully I've offered you some encouragement in homemaking in various seasons. I'm not saying stay so busy that you don't have time to rest. That's not a good idea either. The work of motherhood as wives and women is truly a blessing. So don't ever forget that, no matter what season you are in. So I already have next week's video ready and prepared to go. And very, very soon, I hope to have a sweet announcement for y'all when our fourth little baby makes his or her arrival. In the meantime, I'm patiently waiting, staying productive, staying positive, waiting on baby to come in God's perfect timing.